Welcome in to the Room podcast, brought to you by the LFC Transfer Room. We have three gentlemen in three individual rooms. In the first room that we talk about will be Kris, the lovely green background behind him, my man Kris. How are you doing at the moment?
I'm doing good, mate. Just past midnight in rainy Wales. But you know what I have to do for my dudes over the pond?
Nothing makes me happier than your American accent. Dan, let's go to a man who needs no accent or attempted accent for the American accent. Dan's just my man from the States. Dan, how are you doing?
Hello. I think this is the first time that we're overtaking the UK lads on the podcast. So this is going to be a very special occasion. You're going to be hearing a couple of American voices right here, and hopefully
And a terrible,
you're okay with it.
a terrible impersonation.
We need to hear it. Come on.
How many minutes would the audience stick through if you went with an American accent the entire podcast?
I don't think they'd last very long, to be fair, bless them.
Like it went beyond a bit and it was just you saying everything. Your thoughts on the Carabao Cup Final, LAUTARO Martinez, Marco Asensio, which are some of the things we'll talk about today. That'd be an amazing time.
Let's keep them waiting. Let's keep them waiting.
Listen, if we win 3 trophies, I will do an entire stream in an American accent at the end of the season.
Oh my god,
3 trophies, book it, and it will happen.
In fact, even if we win 1 more, I don't care. I'll just do it anyway.
We'll also talk about some things. Starting off with the Carabao Cup Final, which we are now, as the time of recording, about 2 days removed from, and change. It was a big one. Kris, I don't think we've spoken since then. I believe you've been on a few things on the Transfer Room, at least the YouTube side of things. If you haven't, then that'd be.
No, I haven't. I've not done anything, mate. I've been
both of our first times to be able to comment on it. I guess you were at the match.
I was.
I'm not gonna ask how much you drank, but from what you can remember, I'm assuming it was a good amount of the match.
I remember the match. I don't remember after the match. That's exactly how we like it. No, it was a very nerve-wracking occasion. The atmosphere was absolutely incredible. It was one of the best 0-0s you'll ever see, I think. Even though there was 4 goals that were offside, which is quite remarkable. Plus a potential red card, plus everything else. But the game had everything. I just thought we were the better side on the day, despite the fact Chelsea did score those offside goals. I think it gives sort of a false sense of where they were in the game. How can we not talk about the penalty? I mean, it's like he'd been watching some football over in the American. He's like he put a conversion over. I don't even know what's it called when they kick the ball in through the thing in field goal. That's what it was. That's what Kepa did, and it was incredible. We didn't actually. I was sat quite high. I didn't quite appreciate how far he missed it with. It was ridiculous. It was like you could put a goal on top of the goal, and he probably still would have missed, which was quite incredible.
What was the reaction to that miss, Kris? How delayed was it for you guys up there when you were watching it?
We just all went crazy, mate. And then everything just was amazing. It was so loud. I'm still recovering my voice now. Singing One Kiss is all it takes, as loud as I can. Like, unbelievable. What an experience. I'll never forget it, especially because 5 years ago I went to the Man City final and it was the complete opposite feeling. It was so gutting. And to get that against Tuchel and against Chelsea was magnificent.
I don't know if I posed the question to beforehand, but I was worried. I think it was actually taught in our little preview of the match, how unbearable Twitter especially would have been if Chelsea had won that match, because considering how good, not how good, but how irritating the Chelsea end of things can be. We can be irritating as well as Liverpool fans, but I digress. Dan, Kris made an interesting point that he thought that Liverpool were the better side on the day. I personally disagree with that, but I'll get to that in a moment. How did you kind of fall in terms of Liverpool's performance in the match?
It was a very tough match to watch. If you look at these statistics, Liverpool were the superior side. If you look at the match itself, Chelsea was the superior side. They were just dominating the whole match. It was a game that I was pretty scared most of the game. I just knew that they were going to score at any moment, and if it wasn't for VAR, who would have thought what happened? I mean, what do you guys think would have happened if the offside goals went in? I think it was.
We'd have lost the game, Dan.
Basically 3-1.
Wait, what was the third Chelsea goal that was offside? Because I remember there was
Lukaku. Havertz got 2.
What was the
header? The header that sort of Kelleher sort of dragged over the line. Then Havertz had one that he put in the back of the net, and then Lukaku's one.
I don't remember that second Havertz one you talked about.
He sort of cut it back and he fired it in. I'm pretty sure it was that. There was 3. I don't know if I'm going crazy.
And it was just pretty challenging to watch. The fact that Chelsea started the game, Chelsea ended the first half already being the superior side. So by the second half, Jurgen Klopp should have been able to make some sort of change that would turn things around. But there was most of those 45 minutes that just were just complete tension, and Chelsea kept dominating. So the fact that they even scored 3 goals, that even though they didn't count it, I just don't think that was acceptable. We should have done something differently.
My question is, I'm gonna interrupt you a bit. They scored 3 goals, but they were offside, and that was an intentional decision on the high line. Why is that a discredit to Liverpool, not a credit to them?
I think personally 2 of them can be credited to Liverpool. I think the
Lukaku won now, in my opinion.
The Lukaku, but then I read Louis put it in the chat earlier of the transfer chat about how Van Dijk leans his body, and it's genuinely a deliberate decision, or whether he's very, very fine-tuned. He's naturally good at doing that.
If you go to Sam Maguire's profile on Twitter, he has a Patreon. He's a free piece. It's about the high line. I read it. It's exactly what Kris is talking about. Essentially, not to take away from Sam's work, you definitely should go check it out. But Van Dijk, Konate, Liverpool's center backs make their bodies very thin, knowing that VAR is going to measure them based on that point. You look at the Lukaku one. The reason why it's so controversial because his body is spread real wide as he's mid sprint, versus when he can afford it, real thin, high line. But Dan, I kind of interrupted you. I wanted to go back to you on that.
No, and actually on that point that you're making, actually, Jack. If you listen to Virgil van Dijk's post-match interview, and I don't know if any of you guys have seen it yet, he goes on into, because the reporter asks him, they go and say, "What were your thoughts on the offside calls?" He says, "Obviously, we have no control on the offside because we cannot look at the VAR or just a screen. But the only thing that I can tell you is that it just gets me mad. This thing about the clear and what do you guys call it? What is it? The rule, the clear and something else?
Clear and obvious.
The clear and obvious, something like that." So the fact that he said that, it makes me think that they actually try to do it on purpose, but there's just that line that players don't know. When is it going to be clear and obvious, and when it's not going to be clear and obvious? But yeah, just like you guys said, it's pretty well known that Liverpool play a high line, and we try to play in the offside because we've done it so many times. It's just a little scary, the fact that Chelsea managed to score 3 goals in those intentions, to catch these players offside.
Me personally, clear and obvious doesn't apply to offsides. If it's offside, it's offside. If it's not offside.
Yeah.
Are you dead or are you alive? You can't be half dead, half alive.
I think we were lucky to have a good referee, though. Don't you guys think? You know how many times we had like a pretty bad ref? Can you imagine?
Just on the weekend, to be honest.
I thought personally he had an okay performance. The only thing that I think he messed up was I think he was a bit lenient. He was a little, especially, and this is biased, but I think a lot of Chelsea players could have been booked.
Yes. How come they had yellow for tackling Robertson? Even a foul was amazing.
That Naby Keita challenge as well.
That's
on who was it on?
Chalobah. Yeah,
it was bad.
Sorry, I'm just going to quote a tweet from That's Football, which has gone viral today. It's obviously Mark Goldbridge's brand. Apparently, this is the quote. Trevor Chalobah has suffered a penis injury and required dressing room surgery.
Is this a joke or is this for real?
This is completely serious.
Oh,
Thomas. Oh no, it is a joke. I've been trolled there. I've been trolled. I think we have to get that bit out.
That's always the worst. I think Charlie had a terrible one where he got absolutely baited on Twitter. We run about 10 minutes of Carabao discussion. We want to get onto some transfers in a moment. I'll hit real quick on my thoughts. I didn't look at the 3 offsides that were goals for Chelsea. I looked at the 3 chances. Mount should have had 1. Pulisic, my American guy, was not my American guy for the weekend.
LeBron James of soccer.
He was not the LeBron James of soccer. Hitting Kelleher right in the hands with his shot. Mason Mount had 6 years to shoot the ball into the 18-yard box and still just could not get his feet sorted, couldn't finish it. If Mason Mount has any sort of finishing boots on him, they score. And credit to them, the only goal that we were able to generate against them was a well-worked set-piece goal. From open play, we just couldn't break them down. Mendy's a tremendous keeper. Really quick, really quick, and we'll get on some transfers. Mistake or correct call? Kepa on for Mendy. Kris?
Absolute mistake.
Ooh.
I get the premise of it because obviously they assume that Kepa's this penalty specialist, but I don't really see any evidence that he's better than Mendy at penalties.
He's a better record. But those are so, and Kris, I'll kind of offer another perspective, is there's such a few sample size on the penalties saved.
Exactly.
It's a shot stopper situation in my eyes.
And it's not like Mendy wasn't man of the match beforehand.
No,
like, I know it's a very revisionist view, and if it had worked, he would have been a genius, Thomas Tuchel.
Mm-hmm.
But that, you can't, I just can't say it's a good decision when he didn't save any of 11 penalties and skied his over. Yeah. He was the reason they lost the game.
Yeah.
Like,
I do have a totally different take on what Kris has, but I do want to touch on something. I think it was a correct managerial decision from a manager perspective, from a tactical perspective, to bring in the better penalty goalkeeper into the situation. And in fact, I remember that we had a stream and I don't know who it was, one of the guys that was like, it wouldn't surprise me if Kepa is the one that ends up being the keeper because he's pretty good at penalties. But from a moral perspective, from a human perspective, why would you do such thing to a player? I think that's the main difference between Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel. Jurgen Klopp doesn't really care about the result when he puts Kelleher on goal. He cares more about the person, the player that he's building. Thomas Tuchel on the other side, he doesn't care about whatever Mendy's going through his head. He was in a great form in that match, and he said, you know what? I care more about the penalties. Let me bring in Kepa. He didn't even care about what Kepa thought. This guy is just jumping in.
He should have started Kepa, really. Mm-hmm. But then I don't think Kepa saves as many.
No, Monty isn't safe.
No way. He doesn't have.
You see, but
there you go.
You see, but that's what I'm thinking. Like Jurgen Klopp doesn't like. If we didn't have Kelleher, Jurgen and Adrian would have started all the cup matches. Jurgen Klopp would have most likely put in Adrian.
I don't think we'd have got through, to be honest.
We would, but he would have put Adrian. That's just the type of person that he is, and I don't think that Tuchel is missing that human factor of the game. You need to care more about players. You need to care about more personalities. And
I think, Dan, I have a completely different perspective on that. I think that he was, it was starting Kepa was the right human decision. So maybe I agree with you in a roundabout way. I agree with you in the fact that I don't think he cares enough about the human decision. But again, Mendy's the better keeper. So I think, and to give my perspective on it, I think that you have a guy who could not be beaten by Liverpool in regulation and in extra time. And genuinely, I believe that if he steps up to be a penalty keeper, it's not, maybe he's an inferior shot stopper, but he's a better keeper. I would have backed him to save penalties rather than Kepa.
In that situation. Yeah.
And I think that backed up by the fact that he had the weakest wrists in history on the Konate penalty. That one shouldn't have gone in. Mendy doesn't concede that one. So,
yeah, it's a bit like, do you remember earlier in the season when West Ham brought Mark Noble on?
Yes.
And he missed the penalty. He's not warm. Like Mendy is Rashford. Warm. He's had 120 minutes of football, and he's so used to this goalkeeping like malarkey for 120 minutes, and then you throw Kepa on, and honestly, I think Mendy saves that Konate penalty. 100%. He genuinely does.
100%. He might save that Van Dyke one too because he's just so big.
Nah,
but he's also not pulling those shenanigans that pisses off the Liverpool players, where he's like, I love that, but it also, when it doesn't work, you look like an idiot. Well, so we turned into the LFC trophy room for a little bit there, talking about that win.
Oh, I love that.
And we'll have some awesome. More discussion to come.
Before we moved into transfers, though, I don't have the quote right here in front of me, but did you guys see that quote that Jurgen Klopp said at full time? He said something. He was like, when they asked him, why did you start Kelleher instead of Allison? He was like, I'm a human before a manager, or like I'm a manager and a human.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that just, if you can just encrypt that into like a statue, that just basically explains what Jurgen Klopp is. He's like, I'm a human before a manager, and that's why I chose Kelleher. I don't even know, but
I
he's
don't
just
even
such
think
a great
though.
guy.
I think it's also a symbol of how much he trusts Queeveen, and how much Queeveen Kelleher has really excelled and improved. It's a shout out to the goalkeeping team, to John Achterberg, to Paul Robinson, to Taffarel, the new addition.
It's true.
There's a lot of, it's a goalkeeping academy now. That's what they want to call it, a goalkeeping school. And to have and also to have a role model like Allison there, who even Simon Mignolet said it, and he had one season with Allison. He said he helped me improve drastically. It's brilliant. It's a really, really good setup, and it's not only Jurgen, it's the whole coaching staff.
And Kris, and Jack too. You guys know what's going to happen in the summer. Kelleher is going to receive tons of offers to be the first choice goalkeeper. What would you guys do if you were in his shoes and you get guaranteed starting time in a different club? In his shoes,
Allison is around for the next 5 years. He's not a starter at Liverpool. It's a shame to say it, but he's just not.
He's too good. Kelleher is too good to be a backup choice, I think.
Yeah, he's an Emmy Martin.
Is it not a bit early?
No.
He's proven it already.
He's 22, and he's got to pick his next club very carefully because he could ruin his reputation. He's got to go to somewhere that he plays every single game. You look at Danny Ward, a player who was pretty much on the brink of the first team at Liverpool at the time because Karius and Mignolet were dodgy. Pick Leicester. It was meant to be being competitive with Schmeichel. Schmeichel went up a level. Kelleher's got to go and make sure that he goes and proves himself if he does leave. I personally don't think he will for the next 2-3 years. I think that the fact that Jurgen did start him in this final, he gets guaranteed every single game, Carabao Cup, FA Cup. That's still enough to improve. That's still enough to improve under amazing coaches and a brilliant goalkeeper in Allison. There's still enough.
To be so frustrating though. That's just similar to the Joe Gomez situation, and probably even worse because Joe Gomez can play right back too. Kelleher's there's just one keeper.
Yeah, it's true, but I don't think he's the kind of guy. I think he'll make the right decision. And I think the right decision for him is to stick around. He's loved. I want him to go and spread his wings, but I think it'd be foolish to go this summer.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting one. We'll surely have more discussion on that in the weeks to come. But and we'll talk about that Norwich match very briefly towards the end of the podcast. But let's talk about some transfers now. Get back to our name, our roots. And so this one from Internews, LAUTARO Martinez. He's a guy who Liverpool are facing in the Champions League, and it's a common theme. Takumi Minamino, Luis Diaz. Liverpool plays a team in the Champions League. They say, "I like the way that guy looks. I like the cut of his jib. Bring him over to Anfield." Kris, LAUTARO Martinez as the next potential attacking addition for Liverpool. What are your thoughts on that?
Wasn't impressed with him when he played us the other week, whenever it was. I was just forgetting about it now. Old time is warping at the moment. I think he's got the profile that would fit a Liverpool signing, but I hate to piss on anyone's cornflakes, but I just don't see it. I think he's the future of Inter Milan. They want to keep him around, and I don't think I don't think he's got what Jota has in terms of the real clinicality. He's got an okay record. He's got 21 goals in his second season at Inter, 19 in his third, and he got 12 this season. But he's been a couple of Inter fans I know have got really, really frustrated with him this year.
I don't know. On Twitter, I see him a lot talking about Martinez. I'm not sure where he stands, but he seems like one of them.
Yeah, it gets frustrating when you know a player's got talent and they can't show it. But look, if it happened, I'm sure he'd be a world beater. But it all depends on the future of our forwards as well.
Mm-hmm. Dan, Martinez has some pretty good defensive stats, at least in terms of interceptions, blocks. He tracks back decently well. Where do you stand on kind of Martinez as a potential addition up front?
I want him, and I don't want him for what he is now. I want him for all the attributes that he has and that he can potentially become. He's a very fast striker. He's a very mobile player. He's a deadly finisher. And at Inter, he's proven that he's able to work together with different players, and he's versatile enough to play under different roles. I remember at Inter Milan, he was the mobile player while Lukaku was the finisher, or they were interchanged between roles. So he's a pretty versatile, flexible role. He's not the tallest, but he's not the shortest. He has a pretty decent size, shape, everything. I think we should totally go in for him. Now, I doubt that he'll come in at a reasonable price. But in fact, if you ask me, and I need to choose someone before we choose Haaland. I mean, not before we choose Haaland, but if we cannot get Haaland, which is obviously impossible, I think the next in line should be Lautaro Martinez. Top class, but mostly promising. Very promising for what's yet to come.
Interesting that you say we cannot get Haaland. That's another discussion for another day. But we're going to switch gears. I loved the Lautaro Martinez, the great pronunciation.
Beautiful pronunciation.
Ooh,
Beautiful.
Lautaro Martinez.
I can't even hold a candle.
I'm just like Martinez in it.
Let's switch gears a bit. Marco Asensio reportedly a bid come in according to Sport. Now, granted, this takes you back quite a bit. Was this pre-Klopp that we last heard about Marco Asensio?
Nah, I remember a time. I think it was 2018. Just after they'd beaten us in the final, and we were linked with like £160 million move for him. I don't know if you guys actually remember that. And now, Jesus Christ, lads.
The thing is that the only reason that all these reports were saying that we were going to bid such a high fee for him is because he has a 100 million release clause, right? 100 million euros release clause, actually. So there was no way he was going to leave the club. But now, if I'm not wrong, his contract ends in a year or in a year and a half. So he's still 26. He's doing really good right now at Real Madrid. His form came back with Ancelotti, whichever way you want to say it. And all I'm thinking is, there's some type of player that you can explode in there. I don't know.
I don't know if I'm being like really disregarding, but it screams of Everton.
Everton. Ooh.
This screams of an Everton free transfer.
Oh, no.
He's not good enough.
Like he's too good for Everton. Come on, man.
So is James Rodriguez. So is like lots of players who've gone there.
26. I think he's still got a resurgence in him, if not still able to play at Madrid.
He's 9 in 29 this season. It's his third best scoring season. It's probably on course to be his best scoring season. There's nothing about him that stand out. What do you think of when you think of Marco Asensio? I don't think he fits this Liverpool team in any way, shape, or form. He's probably a good technician, but can't really think of anything else that would make him fit in with this Liverpool team. The only way I see him getting in is if he plays in an 8 and he prefers playing off the left.
Yeah,
so he's versatile. He can play as an attacking midfielder, winger, striker, innate, like you guys said. I guess that's one of the positive sides from his game.
And I can play multiple positions as well. Will I play them well? That's the question you need to ask yourself. I just don't see Asensio at a decent.
I can cook a curry. I can cook a roast dinner. Doesn't mean I'm not going to burn the puddings, boy.
But now, question, okay, for you guys. Obviously, speaking of food, no, I'm just kidding. But
I'm just eating. I'm eating during a podcast. It's really unprofessional. Don't care.
The report says that Liverpool has a bid on the table, and there's actually 2 outlets confirming this news. Not only Sport, but also Deportes, something else. But this is a local Spanish outlet that is really reliable. Well, it tends to be reliable. So my question to you guys is, if Liverpool were to try and bring him in, I haven't really checked on his contract, but how much do you think he's worth?
If Luis Diaz is what? 60 million euros? Was that how much he was?
45.
But because of his release clause and the contract length.
20 million.
He's worth 35.
Okay, I like
that. When was the last time Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp gave a deal to a player who's on a downward spiral?
Yes. No, we don't buy players like that. No one else is like that.
There's no one. There's literally no one.
Everyone is either hit their peak where they're currently at, or they're currently on the ascendance.
We did buy Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain for a pretty hefty fee when he was not in the best moment of his life.
I don't think you can look at that transfer as a good reason to repeat that kind of thing, though. Not to hate on your boy Kris, but I mean, he hasn't set the world alight.
He's old news now. I'm Harvey FC.
All right. He winds people up, Harvey does. I
love it. I love him. I love that.
We haven't had a player like him in ages where he's just a piss boiler.
I love it. I honestly adore that boy.
So,
but we have a few more transfer rumors to talk about. And I think we just have a few minutes left. So go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, so there's Jared Bowen. He's rejected a new contract at West Ham. According to The Athletic, now they did trigger an auto extension in his contract to move him into the summer of 2024. So 2.5 years still left on his deal. Kris, you've been on the Bowen bus. You and I have been riding. We were not just passengers. We weren't riding in the back, hanging out just for fun with our friends. We were up there conducting it, leading the way on the Bowen bus before it was popular, before he's had a great season this year. So I can only assume that you're still firmly with me in the driver's seat.
Oh, no question, mate. No question. He's just going from strength to strength, isn't he? He's the perfect Klopp player. I think I saw a quote that Jurgen Klopp is mildly obsessed with him, which wouldn't surprise me because his work rate, his goal scoring ability, it still has levels to go. I still think there's a lot of levels to go with him, but he's very hardworking. He seems to have gotten quicker, which is a real big thing for Klopp and everything. The only thing I think stopping it is what happens with Mane and Firmino. If one of them go, I think he comes in. If they don't, I think we won't sign him because I don't think we'll need anyone else. So, yeah, I'm firmly there, but the price is going to be interesting. Let's just say that it all depends on where West Ham finish in the end.
Yeah, I think he may. If he just edges for a move, it might push him over the edge. I see him kind of as a replacement of a Origi or a Minamino, to be honest.
But I think there's a better option that Jack is about to mention that is going to get a lot of people excited.
I don't think
do you don't think that? No. Oh wait, let's get into the news first before
I want to hear your thoughts on Bowen. Sign Bowen or no?
No, I think he did. If he moves to Liverpool, well, first of all, the type of player that he is, he needs to be the star somewhere else. If he moves to Liverpool, he's not going to be the star. He has all the qualities to be the main character. For me, he's like a Shaqiri type of player. Not saying they're the similar ability, but he needs to be the star of a team.
No.
Jack, Jack, let's have him. Let's have him.
Wait. Before y'all go at me, I'm not saying they're the similar ability. I'm saying he needs to be the main star of a team.
I don't think so.
I don't know. He's a real industrious human being. I just love him. He's my boy. He's from hometown.
He's just a left-footed Diogo Jota who just assists a bit more.
I can see him
scores a bit less.
I can see him at Spurs or Arsenal being a regular starter.
I don't think that.
I can see that as well, but I think he'd be better off at Liverpool. He'd be better off.
Oh,
come, Jared.
As the backup right winger, backup left winger, backup center forward, he's literally just the utility guy up front, where he just kind of comes in when needed. I think he'd be brilliant off the bench. And I always say this with players is that I don't want guys that need more time to develop, but I don't want old guys. I want guys who are around 24, 25, good amount of experience. He's a great amount of experience in England. I think he'd be a great signing. Another guy, though.
So you want Marco Asensio then?
No.
Marco Asensio can't. Look, I don't want to be like Chedu and saying Vinicius Jr. is finished, and then Vinicius Jr. continues, just explodes into what he could have been. Chedu said some dumb things in the past, though. But
Chedu says a lot of dumb things.
Getting on to
happy birthday, Chedu, by the way, for yesterday.
Oh, all love to Chedu. Getting on to the other news. According to The Athletic, Rafinha, if relegated, £15 million from the one and only Leeds United. Kris, before we get into should we sign Rafinha, $15 million for Rafinha would be a dumb decision not to do. Are you rooting against Leeds now to get relegated?
I'd love it, man. Well, it would just be funny. You see, you got your. I think Bielsa's got a lot of flack, and probably rightly so. But I think he's got a lot of unwanted disrespect. Mm-hmm. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting something different to happen. But he is a master of his craft, and I think with the injuries they've had this year, they've been really, really shortchanged. They haven't invested well at all, in my opinion. There's been no support for Bamford without him, and they've really missed Calvin Phillips. They really have missed Calvin Phillips. but Jesse Marsch is now the manager. The second American manager ever in the Premier League.
Bradley.
Don't forget Brad Barbley. But no, it's gonna be interesting. I do hope they get relegated, though. I'm not gonna lie. It would be. Actually, no. I hope Everton get relegated, but then I want Leeds to get relegated.
All I'm saying is that Jesse Marsch got sacked with a better team in a weaker league. So that was. I'm just thinking he's gonna take them to relegation. Only so Liverpool can buy Rafinha for 20 million.
So Dan, you alluded to it. You prefer Rafinha to Bowen. So that's not what I'll ask you. But how much do you rate Rafinha?
Incredible. I mean, in Brazil, people already know that after Neymar, the next in line is either Anthony or Rafinha. So all the comments are already basing that they're the next big thing. And the fact that the next big thing is still at a pretty, we can call them small club right now because of their situation in the placement in the league, but they're not in a big club yet. I think this is a gamble similar to Paqueta. Paqueta needs to leave Lyon and go to a bigger side. But that being said, this guy is something else, and Anthony as well. If no top team takes them next season, it's going to be a huge mistake.
I haven't watched enough of Anthony, but this almost signals to me potentially a switch in the long term from an African duo up front to a South American duo up front. Luis Diaz off the left, Rafinha on the right. I mean, that's just
LAUTARO Martinez as a striker.
Look, that would be.
We spoke about Shaqiri earlier. This, for me, and I tweeted it actually, would smell like a Shaqiri signing. A relegated side, cheap price, player who probably, in my opinion, doesn't fit the way we play, but could be used and utilized in ways that we could potentially fit him in. I honestly, I haven't seen enough of him to warrant 15-20 million. You take it, right? But if someone had told you in 2018 we'd be signing Shaqiri for 30-40 million, you would be like, what on earth are you on about? I have the same feeling about Rafinha for the money that was touted before. And I just don't think he fits. And I don't think he's, from what I've seen, and there's a lot of Leeds games, I don't see the way how he fits into our scene. I don't see it. He doesn't have the ethic about him. He doesn't have the attitude.
Here's what I'll say, Kris, in the defense of Rafinha. In a system which doesn't require him to be sprinting back at all times to track back in a team that's very wide open, when he can play in Salah's position where Salah tracks back and Rafinha has no problem tracking back, but he's not required to. He can very often stay forward and still be creative. He's got 9 goals and 2 assists in a side that's battling relegation. And that's his XG and underperforming in the expected assists. He's got 5 expected assists, just 2 actual assists. This dude, I think, he's Luis Diaz. Like,
we haven't seen the best of him only because he's at Leeds. I do think if you put Rafinha at West Ham, Kris right now will be all over him.
Rafinha at Porto. And Rafinha at Porto when he's playing like Luis Diaz was.
Oh, no, Rafinha at Porto would already scored 30 goals by now.
He doesn't work hard enough.
No. That's slander.
The disrespect, Kris.
He doesn't work the same as Diaz. I'm sorry. No way. 20 million, I'd have him in a heartbeat because of the price. But I don't think he fits.
He was quoted at 75 million last season, Kris. Did you just say 20 million is okay for him?
Yeah, 20 million is fine, right? But he wouldn't, for me, I wouldn't pay over that for him. No way.
Let's say 38. Come on, Kris. 38.
No, because we don't need him. We need him? No. I'd rather have Mane. I'd rather have Firmino. Well, even in the declining states.
Here's the thing, though, Kris, is I take not exception to, but I think that one of the best traits of him is his work rate. Because I remember speaking to the I'm spacing the name of their podcast, Kris, the Leeds podcast.
Stu and Simon.
If it comes to you, Kris, the name of it, we'll
I can't remember the pod. Yeah, I don't know the guys.
Well, when we talked to them about Bamford and Rafinha, they said, because this was after the 4th place finish in the Premier League and the struggles with the center back issues, they said Rafinha's next club is going to be a bigger club than Liverpool. Now, I like those 2 guys. They're really, really nice guys. So I'm not like
they don't like Liverpool, do they? Bless them.
They do not like Liverpool, and they were tolerant of us, and I really appreciate that from them. And they were saying Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid is his next spot. I think this is a guy, and they were saying his work rate was the most impressive part about him, and him sprinting back to chase down his guys down. Under Bielsa, he's been with a manager who makes him press. He's got the technical ability.
We'll have to see. I haven't seen much of Rafinha. At least
this season, he's been dog. He's been
dog. 9 goals. 9 goals.
I agree. Well,
how many of them are pens? How many of them are pens?
Wait, did you say 9 goals? He scored 9 goals already?
Prem.
Wow.
How many pens? How many pens?
He has scored 3 penalty goals.
That's still pretty good, Kris.
That padded.
He's a winger.
6 goals in play.
At Brazil, he's already the established.
How many's Fabinho got?
Fabinho's in Liverpool system. Stick Rafinha at DM and he'll get as many goals as Fabinho.
All right, I think this is a
topic. I'm so tired, boys.
Yes.
All right.
This is going to be a good one.
Last topic of the day is FA Cup. This is being recorded, as Kris mentioned. It's late UK time, morning of the FA Cup tie against Norwich, back at Anfield. How important is the FA Cup now, in Klopp's eyes?
Massively.
In Klopp's eyes, not in your eyes. Because I know Trent Alexander-Arnold was tweeting 1 out of 4, and did that make me feel some things? It did make me feel some things. But how high does Klopp rank the FA Cup for him, Kris?
Oh, it's third out of the 3, obviously. Like, it has to be. If it's number 1 priority out of those 3 tournaments, then he needs his head wobbling. But no, it's still massive. Like, it's a trophy. It's the biggest cup competition in the world. It's so prestigious, and it gets a lot of disrespect. And I think it's making a bit of a comeback this year. Loads of people are absolutely loving the FA Cup. It would really put a marker down. I think the FA Cup final is before the Champions League final.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
I go by FM always, but I think it's end of Prem season, 2 weeks to the Champions League final.
Saturday, 14th of May. So that's the day after my birthday, by the way.
Ooh.
So that could be good vibes.
Good 20th.
20th birthday, yeah. So I'm gonna hopefully be at Wembley on that day. But no, look, it's so massive to be in this stage of the competition, and I'm going to put this point out. It's completely irrelevant, but I think this year has proven that draws win trophies.
Yep.
West Ham played Man City. You know, we've had lucky draws this year, and we've won the league. We won the cup. Sorry, won the Carabao Cup. I think we're going to get through in this competition. And don't forget that like teams like Middlesbrough through in the next round.
Drop them to Norwich. Cannot.
And we'll win tomorrow. We'll win today. Sorry, we'll win today. Like I'm more than confident. I think it'll put out a strongish team. We have to go and win every single game. This team is capable of winning every single game for the rest of this season. I have no qualms about that, and I think Jurgen Klopp will try and do that.
I agree. Dan, not the question of how important it is. Do Liverpool win the FA Cup? Not just tomorrow. To win the FA Cup?
No, not yet. I don't know yet, because how many matches are left if we were to win all the following matches?
It's this one, then it's the quarterfinal, then it's the semi-final.
3 left after this.
3 more.
So if we go to the final, it's going to be 4 more. I think it's still a pretty long way. Just like Kris was saying, we've been lucky to have a pretty decent draw in the Carabao Cup. For some reason, Liverpool always get the hard teams, and I don't know why. So I'm not going to call it in yet, because let's say if we beat Norwich, the next match is going to end up being, I don't know, Chelsea again or Man City or something like that. So I don't want to. I don't want to call it.
I'm going to pull a Chedu. I'm going to say Boreham Wood beat Everton. We play Boreham Wood.
That'd be funny.
Prove why Boreham Wood are beatable by teams from Merseyside. We get Middlesbrough, who just knocked off Man City next. We knock them and then we get, like, I don't know, Stoke.
That'd be incredible.
We got knocked out.
Stoke just lost. We get Crystal Palace in the final.
Yeah, get Palace in the final. Palace in the final. Beat Vieira. That's call it.
Mate,
Norwich, Boreham Wood, Middlesbrough, Crystal Palace. The weakest run into an FA Cup final in the history of the sport.
I don't know. Man City have had some dodgy ones in the past. Like, it's genuinely strange. I'm not going to call any corruption. I've channeled my inner Chedu enough today.
Well, hey, there was the apology from the PGMOL to Everton for missing a penalty in their 1-0 defeat to Manchester City. I'm just going to say, if we lose the title by 2 points or less, I'm going to say that
corruption.
An apology had to be issued.
Well, if Everton get relegated, they surely have legal stance there.
Nah. Same thing happened to between Villa and Sheffield United when there was a complete just miss of a goal line technology.
Yeah.
Nothing happened there.
That was only Sheffield United didn't get in Europe, did they? But this is like relegation. That's even worse. Like,
yeah, that was less impactful for United, more so impactful for like Watford, who got relegated in place of Villa.
Yeah.
I don't know who said it, but someone said it. Man City is the new Man United. Like they're getting all these dodgy calls, and they're getting all these referees in their favor. But we'll see. Hopefully,
people scared of admitting it, and I like to. I first admit it firsthand. There's a top 6 bias. Like there clearly and obviously is.
Yes,
excluding Liverpool though.
No, not excluding Liverpool.
Including.
You think?
Yes,
we've got some lucky decisions sometimes. Yeah, and it's always against teams that are other top 6 teams. I think we're the 6th in the old in the pecking order, but we still get bias.
This season there's been a few just a few ones, but like from past seasons, I mean, this is just something else for a different discussion. We're already been 40 minutes in.
Yeah,
it's been a long day, Kris. I'm very thankful of you keeping us up. Hopefully not keeping your girlfriend up too long with your podcast antics tonight. But yeah, that's been Kris. That's been Dan.
Yeah.
I've been Jack. The Room Podcast in 3 different rooms across the world: Central Time, Eastern Time, British Standard Time. Is that what it's called?
Greenwich Mean Time, I think it's called.
Why can't
Chris is already falling asleep here. Look at him. You can see it on his eyes.
I'm so looking forward to my bed.
Before we leave, I just have a few announcements from our side. So first of all, and as from everybody at the YouTube channel, we're so close to reaching 3,000 subscribers. So obviously the Room Podcast is also on the YouTube channel. So I got to thank you, all the subscribers. Second announcement, we now have an official, what do you call it? Is it partner? It's not partner. The sponsor for YouTube, and I will tell you guys about that after the call. It was a surprise, yes. And third announcement, I know. Third announcement, I had a different announcement too, but I forgot about it. But okay, okay, yeah. And then we got an email supposedly saying that the LFC Transfer Room podcast is number 1 in 3 different countries in Europe. So I gotta go back in there.
Really?
Yes. I gotta go back in there and I gotta tell you guys. Well, probably next episode, and I'll tell you which countries are those. Okay, so thank you all the listeners. Yeah, thank you to all the listeners. Look, we got Jack happy, we got Chris happy, everybody's happy. I just want to say that
it's definitely like San Marino.
Yeah, San Marino.
It's a good place to start. Come on, we need to start somewhere.
The Pope's listening to the LFC Transferring podcast. We all know it.
That'd be a good listener, wouldn't it? Get him to tweet at us. Transfer him. Good discussion today, lads. All right. I'm very excited to end this podcast out. Hear some great news from Dan, but he's given some bombshells to end this podcast off. Dan with some big news. Kris, great as always. I've been Jack. This has been the LFC Transfer Room podcast called The Room, brought to you by the LFCTR. I've been Jack, Dan, Kris. That's it for us today. We'll catch you next.